of the stuff you are saying, that you not buy land in Ghana. What kind of talk is that? People buy land. If you come to the UK now, it's leasehold. That's how it is too in the UK. In America, I suspect it's also leasehold. So why are you saying they should not buy land in Ghana?
No, no, no. In okay, I'll tell you why. So in the UK, you can't actually get freehold land in the UK. But yeah, majority of land is leasehold. You're right. Here's the thing though, if you're a developer and you're building, let's say, you get a leasehold of 100 years. Well, it's usually 99 years. You can build skyscrapers and make money through rent and the value of the property. And then also because you're building such a huge building, when it comes to after 100 years, the government is more likely to let you renew it because it's an investment. You're solving a housing issue, etc. But if you're just buying land to hold it, which is what a lot of people, they just want to feel like they have some land on it, or they want to build their own residential property like a house, the government is not inclined to let you renew it necessarily. So what's been happening to Nigeria is a lot of Black Americans have been losing their land because they, first of all, they didn't know they signed. First of all, they didn't even know it was a 50 years leasehold. They thought they actually owned the land. So they go there after 50
years
years. They
or
see
100 years.
in Ghana, it's mostly 50 years leaseholds. Actually, they have some 100 years, but it's mostly 50. That's also one issue. So it's not really
50 years, they should have been told that this is 50 years. 50 years it seems quite short. It's one person's lifetime. So
exactly.
they should have been warned that it's 50 years.
Yes, but you see, like when you're buying stuff, people don't tell you these things, right? In land law, there's actually a procedure called. Again, guys, I'm not a lawyer. This is not advice. This is just me giving you how the system works from my perspective. So YouTube, don't come for me for misinformation. But anyways, as far as I know, when you're buying land, in Ghana, it's very complicated, right? There's the chiefs who own the land, then the government owns land. Individuals don't really own land apart from special cases. I think even Ghanaians, most Ghanaians is still leasehold. It's very difficult to even find freehold, even for Ghanaians. And majority, what I've heard from the lawyer
But some
that I
of the things you are
analyzed,
describing, you are making it look like it's unique to Ghana. It's like part of the
not
process of
really,
owning proper land in most countries.
not really in
Some
Kenya.
lands are okay. Kenya, what's the rule in Kenya? That's so
In
different.
Kenya, it's most land is freehold. That's one. Secondly, um, again, not for foreigners, for Kenyan nationals, it's freehold. For
Okay, yeah,
foreigners,
but
it's
for
just
foreigners,
foreigners is 100 years. There's no
which is
50
similar
year.
to what Ghana is doing.
Um.
Why are you
Okay, let
making
me.
it look like it's so different? It's similar to what Ghana is doing. That's what I find a little bit weird that you are saying telling people not to buy land in Ghana, when in reality it's similar to what other nations are doing too. Ghana is not
No.
unique.
Okay. Okay. Let me. Okay. So let me. Okay. For in fact, a leasehold. Okay. One second. In Ghana, the maximum is. Look at this. Right. Look at this. This is just from one website. I'm going to share it right now. Kenya doesn't have this 50-year-old thing. It's mostly.
Yeah, that
I'm just
50 year
sharing.
old
I've
one is
shared
a little
the
bit
link.
new on me. I didn't know about the 50-year-old one. That one seems a little bit weird.
Yeah. Now look at this, right? I'm just sharing my screen. I just type in. I didn't type in 50 years. I just typed in Ghana leasehold years, right? So I can even renew the. Give me a second. How many years leasehold? Okay, cool. Look, I just typed in how many years leasehold in Ghana. A leasehold is a property that can be sold for limited duration. In Ghana, the maximum ownership duration for expats is 50 years. Why
Yeah.
would you buy a property when that's the maximum amount of years that you
But
get?
even for
And for
locals, it's
locals, it's
99.
right. I get that, right? But you're missing the point here tonight. This is for we're making this video for diasporans. So why would you buy a property that gives you 50 years? You can't even invest in 50 years. Like, what are you going to build in 50 years? By the time you build
So in
something,
other words,
it's going
maybe
to
it's to encourage people to actually build, isn't it? So they
no,
don't waste
because
the
Black
land there.
Americans. No, tonight the Black Americans built land. Do you remember that video I did? And then they just tore it down. This is not
Yeah,
tonight. You really
those people that
think
tore it down, but is that property 50 years old? You probably that
it
was
was
torn
after
down.
50? Yeah, 50 years after that. That's when they tore it down.
And
Tanaja, do you really think
okay.
it's good to you see that it's 50 years? Look, let me reset. Look Tanaja, look at my screen. I'm resetting. I didn't type any 50 years. How many years leasehold in Ghana? It's 50
Yeah, but
years.
then the problem
It's
is, yeah,
50 years
I
for
understand that if
expat.
somebody is buying property in Ghana, they should know that by default that like if you can find this easily and they couldn't find it, then who are you supposed to blame? Then you have to say that the
It's not
people that
about
are the
blame.
Americans are the ones that are responsible for it. So
Right.
they
So
should have
mhm.
checked and bought the property because they are informed based on the leasehold that is available in Ghana. That way, nobody's confused. No, there's no. See, when systems are transparent, you can't fault the nation that is, following that that has those policies. Then I guess you have a right to go if what you said
So
that
let
I
me ask
didn't
you,
like.
Tanaja, how
You have the
come?
right to say
How,
that people should not
mhm.
buy property in Ghana based on 50 years. That is too short.
Okay. So let me give an example, right? Do you think most people are out here to find all these technical, complex due diligence stuff? No, these are just normal diasporans to Niger, right? If I type Kenya, how many leasehold in Kenya? It says in Kenya the leasehold. Yeah, I don't care. At least it's usually granted period. You see that there's no 50 years in Kenya. It's 99 to 1,000 years, and you can actually,
Hi.
and for non-citizens, it's 99 years,
Ghanaians
right?
Kenyans are completely done for. Okay,
No, no,
for
no, no, no. For
foreigners,
expats, it's 99. It's 99, right? So
okay.
as you can see there. So
Germany was 999. I was like, half of Kenya would have been sold off. Just maybe
no, no,
one and a half.
they changed the constitution. It used to be 999, but now they've changed the constitution.
They opened their
2010.
eyes now when they found
Yeah,
out
they
that
did.
people have trillions of dollars in their accounts. They will just buy up the whole country. That will be the end of it.
Exactly, exactly, right? Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. Actually, they'll just buy the country because
This is why this leasehold is important. It's a very very. It seems like a greedy thing to do, but it protects the nation because there are people with endless cash there. They will just come and buy up the whole country. Even if you look at it, 99 years may even be long because if they
see,
decide to just go and
mhm.
consume all the property in the country, the locals can't have any property to buy. Then what they would start doing is selling it to the locals. After they acquire so much land. That's crazy. If I was white
Yeah,
people, I would just buy the country up.
right, right.
Let's see what they're gonna do now. Let's see what they're gonna do. I'll just bring $15 billion. Do you know how much land is gonna buy in Kenya? It's gonna take up almost the whole country. That would be crazy. So I can
Yeah.
see why they put these rules in place. But yeah, yeah, you can say the Kenyan conditions are a little bit more lenient. How about Nigeria? Have you checked that of Nigeria?
Nigeria is it's complicated, but it's the same. It's more or less the same as Kenya. Let me pull it up.
Okay.
Um, but Nigeria and Ghana share similar issues, though. Okay, it's like the whole, although not so much like Ghana. Nigeria is closer to Kenya. Ghana has other issues. Like the land is actually owned by multiple actors in different laws. There's civil law, there is tribal law, there's English common law, and they're all. It's just look,
99
tonight. The
years.
reason why I've set up my company actually is to solve this land buying issue. That's literally what my company's basis is. It's a technology company.
Yeah.
So we're going to be solving this whole buying land issue. Okay, so it says 99 years, right? Like, Nigeria is just
Yeah.
like
That's a
Kenya.
good idea you are working. I think they said, what's his name? Rwanda had similar ideas. They've already implemented a system for buying properties or land in Rwanda quite easily.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's
Yes,
quite a
yes.
good thing for you to do in there
But
for
Tinaja, let
Ghana.
me ask you: would you advise someone to buy a land that is only there for 50 years? You have limited time to
No,
invest,
no, no, no,
and
no.
then they
I,
can.
I I won't advise that. I won't. I
Okay,
won't.
good. So now you know why I was saying don't buy land in
Yeah,
Ghana.
that's why I said, yeah, now I understand. If you say don't, to say don't buy land in Ghana seems harsh, but I understand where you're coming from. I understand where. But okay, did you look into the rules after you build the property? What happens after 50 years? Is it
Um,
easy? They give you the
you can
first right
apply.
of refusal here to
You
get
can
the land
you
again.
can apply to get it renewed. The problem is they don't have to give you the renewal. That's now the problem. You're working at someone else's mercy. The either the chief or
That's the
whoever
problem.
owned the land.
That's the
That's
problem.
now the issue.
They have to put a law there to allow people to renew it. That they should have
Mhm.
a first right of renewal and at market rates. Because if you put it that
Yes.
way, that's dangerous. You can go and build all kinds of business there, then they just come and uproot you. That
Yeah.
would be
And that
crazy. It's bad. It's bad policy if you ask me from that point of view. Though.
this is why
You
I
know,
said I've made videos about, well, was Ghana's yield return just just to get quick money from Black Americans? 100%. It was because they didn't have built any systems to even allow. So many people are leaving Ghana for the same reason. First, they buy land that's not really owned by the person selling it. Secondly, the ones who did actually buy the right land lost their land because it's a 50-year leasehold, and maybe they didn't understand the rules. I get it. You're supposed to do your own due diligence, but it's just not really an environment for foreigners to come and invest, right? Give them 100 years. 100 years is enough time for you to invest.
Yeah,
10 years.
100 years is reasonable, or at least make it so that they are tied to the when you they get the 50 years, they have a lot of momentum to be able to renew it without a lot of issues, because that for me that is investment killer really. Most people they invest and they think about 50, 100 years into the future if they want to build something lasting in that country. So I don't think I don't know what they were thinking. 50 years seems a little bit too short. They might as well make it 10 years so that they just put people out of their misery. What is the point? 50 years, there's nothing there. Because you want your children to inherit your property, or you want your business to outlast you. If you want to build a reasonable business, then you're going to have a problem. I don't know what they are thinking of doing, why they did that. Maybe because they worry that they don't have enough land and stuff like that. I don't personally, I don't understand it. Standard should be 100 years. Who knows? Maybe Ghana is just protecting its land so that all these foreigners don't come and buy it all up. And because Ghana is very, very desirable for many people, and so maybe they are just being cautious.
Whatever their reasoning is, yes, I understand that. They're more lenient on large development projects. People who build skyscrapers and large residential units because they're serving the community. So those people, I'm sure they do. Obviously, it's within the government's interest to make it easy for those guys to renew the contract, right? But I think they're not so friendly towards small investors, people who are just coming there with like their small 20,000, 50,000 pounds to just buy their land and do small things, small businesses. Because think about it, Nigeria. That's the issue.
UK
I think
one
they're
is
more
massive. I think UK one they said the UK one they said 21 years to 999, but I'm not sure they differentiate between citizens and foreigners. I'm not sure. So sure. Sorry, go ahead. I'm just thinking aloud.
Yeah. So actually, there is no real freehold, by the way, in land. Just let it. Well, no. It's very rare to find a true freehold in land ownership.
You think you can own a plot of land on the face of this earth?
No,
it's
impossible.
You can't.
It's always around 1,000 years leasehold, and then the government will take the land back from you. Wow. But anyway.
So there was this story that is going around where this Black American brother went to Ghana, build a house, or trying to build a house, come back, they knocked it down. Preliminary things that I've been just kind of hearing and gathering, that the land was leasehold and not freehold. In certain African countries, they have freehold land, which is you own it outright, and then leasehold, which could be 50 year, 99 year, etc. Now I asked why would they do that? They said because of colonization, so the people can't own the land outright, and people can do whatever they want in their country. The only thing I would say is do your due diligence on anything you're doing. But I'm starting to see the narratives. Oh my God, this happened to this one guy, and I don't want to do. There's many Black Americans living in Ghana haven't had an issue or a problem. Why would I be turned off for anything that I want to do for one guy? Now, if this was the constant, then it'd be a different story, and I'll tell y'all not to fool with it. But Ghanaians have said they had experience too. So
I like this guy. At least he's being rational. Not like they just see one negative this in experience and they just say, "Oh, everybody run for your lives." You can't invest in Ghana. That's ridiculous, man. People have to be rational. Yeah, there are Nigerians that are looking to pack up from Nigeria and go to Ghana, not to mention telling African Americans not to go there. Ghana is a nice country, and but this 50 years listing, if you want to get 100 years, you go and get married to a Ghanaian and get it over with. It's all good. And but Nigeria, nobody is rushing to go and buy land in Nigeria, so that's all good too for us. With Ghanaian inflation, why is anybody going to buy land there anyway? If you buy land, inflation is going to eat any profit you are going to
Ghana, for fathers, Ghana is a bankrupt state. It's a bankrupt. They are actually at least Nigeria is they got money to spend, and they might borrow, they might have a lot of debt and stuff like that, but they still got money in their pocket. Ghana is a country without any money in the pocket. And but first of all, good morning to you, forefathers, and Kaizo and everyone else. So yeah, Ghana, I think is a trap. Is a trap that they did to the African American, just like they did the same thing to the other. This is not, it's not just African American getting this problem. I know a few Liberians and people from Sierra Leone that actually had property there that had a problem with the same thing. It is a trap. It is a system that they brought in to actually be protectionist towards their own people, which I understand. Well, unfortunately, it's not good for African Americans who were sold by the same people years later and say, oh, it's year of return. We apologize for selling your people away. Yeah, bring your money and invest in our country. Then when you finish investing everything, we're gonna scam you and take everything from you. I mean, you're missing the culture of Ghana. You know, the culture of Ghana, if you throughout history, it's not been good since Kwame Nkrumah.
Well, maybe they are trying to encourage people to get immersed in the culture, get married to a Ghanaian. But if you do,
they're trying to milk the African Americans.
But it's not fair. It's not fair to say that they are offering the service.
Yes, I think they are. I think it is a deliberate. I think it's very deliberate.
Every nation, if you go on holidays, what do you think is happening? They are trying to milk you too. What the Ghanaians are basically doing is that they offering a valuable service. That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Or they're just trying to.
Okay, you guys carry on. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Tanaja, I don't know. Sometimes I am a little bit afraid, right? Because you like the whole diaspora investing in Africa. Clearly, Ghana is not doing its part in making it easy for us to invest in Africa. And you should hold the Ghanaian government responsible. I think, don't you agree?
I said that already now. I don't like the idea of this 50 years thing. And if they want to do it, especially for the diasporans, they could have just, maybe they will have to modify their constitution or whatever rules that put this stuff in place, because I think this rule was put in place a lot longer before the year of return. So they can modify it to say, okay, people of African descent that returned, that the rules apply differently to them, so that they will be able to renew it more easily, or they just make it outright 99 years lease. So they can do that, and maybe that's something that the diasporans can push for. But I don't think it's a scam. Most African Americans, if they come to Ghana, they want to build, they will know about this leasehold. Because some people are just high level, isn't it? You can't just go and want to rent a property. You don't ask, how long do I own the property for? Because some of those who have already bought a property or land in America or wherever they invested in before. So it's just the ones that are not very savvy are caught out by the 50 years lease term. But it's unfortunate. I don't like it, but you can understand why they did it. And they didn't design it to prevent African American. They designed it to prevent the colonial powers and people that have a lot of deep pockets. If anything, they should be looking to now change the rules to allow African Americans and the diasporans to be able to come in and get 99 years instead of just only, because you want them to stay, don't you? It's obvious. I'm sure the Ghanaians want the African Americans to remain there, so you give them 99 years just like you give your locals. So I don't see any issues. I'm even surprised that their locals don't get indefinite. They just got 99 years. Am I correct there? Is the locals just 99 years or up to 999?
Yeah, as far as I know, it's just 99 years.
That is brutal stuff.
I mean, in the UK, it's about in the UK it's hundreds of years, bro. Because I've been a couple of years ago, just after the lockdown for fathers, I've been looking around for commercial properties because some part in the north, properties are cheap, right? Me and my friend was looking to go into some kind of business, right? We was looking at different properties in the north, and somebody, because I don't want a leasehold. I always look for freehold, right? Some of the properties are like 100 years, bro. Yeah, and some of them come with massive land and loads of benefit, and you got a country like Ghana that is actually borrowing loads of money and also advertising, for the children that they sold to slavery to come back with their money and invest. And once they invest, you should make that clear. If you're gonna have a campaign like what they did in 2019, like the year of return, and they know the money that the African Americans that will be coming in with, and all the stuff that they'll be, all the investment and the benefits of Ghana, you would have thought the first thing Ghana would have done is to reinforce this institution for these people coming in. They actually, it's not because they're not capable, they are very much capable. I believe is actually a deliberate attempt to mislead the African Americans and the foreigners coming into Ghana, to actually basically scam them, because Ghana this since Nkrumah, Ghana's the system over there is no good for West African. I would say it's one of the least Pan-African states in the region. If you look at their behavior, not what they're saying, because what they say and what they do is totally opposite, bro. Totally opposite.
I think that I'm not. Are you? I don't see. I'm not so sure. I think yes, there's an element of Ghanaians. What they do seems to appear.
Yeah, I mean, they do not represent themselves well at all when you look at certain things that happen and what they do to.
But they did a lot though. This thing that we say that they don't do a lot, we have to be fair, because look at now.
Give me one thing that they've done apart of bringing African American to come.
That's one.
And then when they invest and they have their property seized. And don't forget, these are the same people that sold them as slaves.
Not when
So
they
what
invest,
are they doing?
not when they, some of them, and it's a very, very few, far in between that this stuff happens to. It's because maybe the owner of the land wants the land back. And secondly,
No, but Niger, it's the same people who own the land and the ones who sold them.
Honestly, forefathers,
Yeah.
let's have a honest
the
conversation.
same people that own the land that want what?
The same people who own the land today are the same people that sold them, right? It's the chiefs and the government.
Yes.
So it's the same people. So I don't know tonight. I think sometimes I want you to just take a strong stand and say, bro, these guys invited you to invest and come back home, and they don't even create the environment for you to actually do that. That's just wrong.
The environment is known.
Exactly,
it's not fair. It's not fair. That is ridiculous, because you can't just blame people. When let's say they were hiding something from the African Americans.
Forefathers, there are so many Lebanese. There are so many Lebanese that own. Forefathers, there's so many Lebanese that own property in Ghana that have been living there for years. Did you ever have them facing this same thing in a large scale, like how the black diaspora are facing this same issue?
How many times?
No. The reason why
I don't think you will hear about it. You won't hear about it. That's why.
Honestly, you will. If there was, you will, because these people are very prominent in our region.
I see. I've seen this in Ghanaians kick out foreigners whenever they see them doing wrong things, and I've seen also. You see, you have to understand that the Lebanese, if they are there, they are not.
I'm not being funny. I'm not being funny. Forefathers, growing up when I was young, in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and even the Gambia, if there was one person, one nationality, everybody would want you to stay away from was Ghanaian. Because they were known to be scanners. Not all Ghanaians, I'm not saying all of them. But if there's one nationality in West Africa that was known to stay away from them, stay miles away from them, was people from Ghana. When they come to...
you have to ask yourself, though. You have to ask yourself, because if Nigerians go to Ghana, they don't get scammed, because Nigerians are smart. They know what's...
No, what I'm saying is when...
why are you saying that?
This is like years ago, right? This is when I was young. And, of course, Nigerians... going to Ghana, they obviously understand the system in Ghana very well. They're neighbors, so they know, the ups and downs. But people from the diaspora doesn't, So this is the problem,
I think they are not used to 50 years leasehold. That's what they are not used to. So
yeah, I mean,
50 years.
Come on, man. I mean, even to rent a house for 50 years is taking the piss. Let's be real. Right?
I understand that.
No, buying the land for 50 years. It's like I'm investing probably £300,000. It's a scam. It's a scam. We can't deny the fact. It's a scam. They've been scamming African Americans enough.
It's not a scam. It's for everybody. It's for everybody. I don't think it should just be coming here to say it's a scam. It's not right. You have to be fair to the Ghanaians. They didn't cloak any of this in it. I mean, like say they were trying to hide it from African Americans. So they spring it out on them. You would say
in Sierra Leone, when my Dusty Fulani ancestors wanted to help the people from the diaspora, we did not give them land and say, oh, you can have this land, it's all yours, and Later, when the house is finished, when he built the house later, or in Liberia or Sierra Leone, we did not say, well, it's time to go. We only give you Sierra Leone and Liberia for 50 years.
But that
We
is
let
not
them
what
have
they
it.
did, bro. Come on, man. That's not what they
Up.
did to African Americans. They gave them the contract. They saw the 50-year leasehold. They all knew what they were buying into before they bought into it. So it's not fair to say that the 50-year leasehold to the Ghanaians, the African Americans, was some kind of scam. Right? Scam is when you are not clued in into what you are doing, and the other side
Okay,
deliberate.
Niger, hang on. Do you think that these
Fair
people are
point.
no, no,
Fair
no?
point.
It's a scam. Hang on now. Let me explain why it's a scam to Niger. Again, this is my personal opinion. I'm not giving any legal advice here. We're just having a discussion, YouTube. So don't come for us. But to Niger, do you know why I think it's a scam from my personal effect? Is this? They made this whole movement about repatriating back home. They said that themselves. They
Yes.
use the emotionality of Black Americans and other diasporans to come and reinvest, knowing that these guys are suffering from racism and other issues. So they wanted to go back home. When you're bringing people like that, do you really think these people? This is not. Ike went there, married a Ghanaian woman, his land and properties in his Ghanaian woman and child's name, etc. Right? We're not talking about like high level investors who are coming there with a level mind. These are emotionally distraught people who are traumatized by the West who just want to come back home. When you're dealing with people like that, even in normal law, right? Your contract, any contract you sign with a mentally traumatized person is void. So these guys are making these people sign these contracts. Do you think they explain to them it's 50 years? No, they don't explain to them. And I'm sure it says somewhere in the contract. I'm sure it's written down somewhere. But they're not explaining to them these people. And these people are not you and me to Nigeria. They're not level-headed.
Okay,
These are
let's put
emotionally
this way. Let's put
traumatized
this way
people.
down. Let's just say you are right. They didn't explain to them it was 50 years. Then when they found out it was 50 years and they want to take the property, they want to give the property back or whatever they want to do, were they prevented from doing it?
Yes, they have. I've seen cases do you want me to share the videos right now? They just bulldoze your house. You built your house there. You thought you were building a nice little farm. They just take it down
No,
because it's not within the
that's
I
contract.
thought
that one. I don't know why they. Well, okay, give me the exact reason why they brought the house down. And the
Why?
African, yes, that specific property.
Oh, they brought it down because the chief wanted to sell it because they can make more money from it.
forefathers,
So the
right?
person that used to own the property didn't pay for the leasehold. He
No,
didn't
oh,
renew
no, no.
it.
Let me explain. The Black American commune, known as the Israelites, right? They're also in Israel. They bought some land in Ghana when they were going through the routes to enter Israel, right? They
How long
stopped in
ago?
Africa for about this around 50 years ago. So they
Okay.
bought their land 50 years ago. Okay. They started building property, so aka residential, just that's a house, not like
Mm.
skyscrapers, just a house. And what happened is 50 years finished. So the Ghanaian chiefs said, "Yeah, we want our land back." The guys said, "No, but this is our house and all that stuff." They come, brought the bulldozers, bulldoze their dusty little house. Point is to Niger is you're not protected by the law for you to have the right of first lease renewal. So the chiefs took their land back.
Did they say they wanted to pay for the land, they renew the land? Because you said yourself that the chief wants to sell it for somebody that wants to pay more.
Yeah, but do you think it's gonna be the same price you paid it for? No, it's gonna be a price you can't probably afford.
Then why don't they pay the if you cannot afford the price? That is the consequence of owning this.
Tanaja,
See,
yes, but
hold on
that's
now,
why.
hold
Oh,
on. Then what they could have done was gone to the government to ask for the government to step in time if they don't have the
The,
money.
the land is owned by the chiefs, not the government. That's what I'm saying. Ghana is
Yeah, but
just
the
look.
government.
exactly, Nigel.
My point is that the
Exactly.
government.
Tanaja,
My point is that the
you
government could pay for it. They could pay
Tanaja,
the
you need to
whatever the
watch my
chief wants.
video on buying land in Ghana. It's
Don't
not
tell
the
me
same
about
way
that.
as.
You are not addressing the point I'm raising. The government could pay the outstanding
Why
that the
would they
chief
pay
wants.
for some random dusty house? Maybe if it was like
Because
a
they went and
skyscraper.
appealed to them that okay, this is what we came. We didn't know what was. We are willing to pay
Uh,
this man, and we don't have enough money that he's demanding now. You could do that, and
Forefathers,
they could
forefathers.
have a
I
middle
think,
ground.
unfortunately, I
Tanaja,
think
yeah.
you've been a bit naive. You've been a bit naive here, man. I can see why
I don't
that's
know
gonna
why people keep
that.
saying that. Whenever you
No,
give them answer, they something say naive. That's how governments behave. They try to mitigate distress for investors. The government do that all the time. You go to
forefathers.
them and say you need assistance because you are willing to pay for the land at market rate, but this chief wants more. Then maybe the
Forefathers.
government might step in.
Forefathers, my brother, me and you both know, and Kaiser, that in Africa, most of these lands have belong to the chiefs, to the paramount chief, and to chiefs and local chiefs. So when you buy land, the land is not belong to. We had the same issue not long ago. In fact, in Sierra Leone, you cannot own land outside its capital city, Freetown, beside the paramount chief, and that's something that is made clear. Any land that you buy, you own outside Freetown, it's gonna belong to you, but the number one owner of that land will be the paramount chief of that kingdom or the chiefdom.
Well, see, if those
right?
Israelites came back and told us that, okay, we went to the government to assist us, we are willing to pay the market rate for this land again. We knew it was 50 years.
You're talking about
honestly, man. Why would they do that again? Why would they do that again
Yeah,
when they've already been scammed?
I think what
Because it's a rule, it's not a scam, it's a rule. You sign the documents.
hang on, Tonight, you're giving strategies on what someone could do, which is not guaranteeing them anything. Who's to say they didn't try all these things? What I'm saying
they
is,
didn't say they did. They didn't say they did.
Tonight,
Because if they did, I believe that the government won't turn them down. The government will do something to help.
they can't. I just explained it. This is land owned by the chiefs, right? The chief might even refuse and say, "We don't want to sell it." That's the thing.
Yeah,
Though.
then the government, you see, what you don't understand is the government has leverage. They have things they can do for the chief that the chief may want. This is how governments behave. Like here in the UK.
Wait. Tanaja, I get your point, right? So, you can do these things to Niger, but they're not guaranteeing you anything. We're talking about someone who wants to set up a business. You don't go around dealing with a 50 years leasehold where you have to beg someone to hopefully renew it. You want something guaranteed for a timeline where okay, in 100 years, I can make my business have at least 1 million% profit. And then after that, in fact, I can buy new land or something. What
they should be campaigning for was to have the rules changed to favor diasporans. That's what they should be campaigning for. If the rule says this is how it's supposed to go, that's how it's supposed to go. It may be unfair, but it has to be changed. You saw what they did to Nigerians. They told Nigerians that if they want to trade in their country, they have to pay $2 million. We said no, that's not the rule. You have to go by the rules to say, okay, that is not how it's supposed to be. Because
Tonight, this chief that actually sold this African American, do you think they have any sympathy for them? Honestly.
They're the same people that sold them out. That's why you don't. Okay, tonight, let me just play a short segment of a video.
That's ridiculous. You can't blame people just for wanting their land back. That's ridiculous.
How about
the chief? Are you thinking about the chief too that just gave his land away and somebody doesn't want to bring it back after 50 years? As if the chief doesn't have something to do with the land too.
Hang on. Let me play this short segment of a video.
Niger, the goodness of your heart is actually not enabling you to see the truth. Not everyone is good like you, bro. Not everyone got
that's
heart like
he's
you.
not getting to Niger. I'll even forget the situations where the chiefs even sell you the land for real in 50 years. Most of the time, these people are being sold fake land to begin with. It's not even real land a majority of the times from the
they corrupt. They corrupt. Chief are corrupt.
Alright, let's just play this. Sure, individuals or the government.
Acquisition, the original owners can come for their land at any time. Yes, and also when it comes to the entities, that is those who can sell land, each of them have their own way of selling land. So the way the stool will sell land is not the same way a family would sell land. It's not the same way a corporate entity would sell land. So for instance, when it comes to stool land, you would need to buy the land from the chief, and you'd also need the chief to get the consent and concurrence of the principal elders of the stool in order to make the grants valid. In addition to that, you'd also need the consent of the traditional council in order to make the grant valid. So the traditional council is the entity that comprises of the chief, the sub-chiefs, and the lesser chiefs. And then you'd also need Lands Commission's consent. If you don't have all of these consents, the grant is not valid. In fact, the grant is void. It's only the traditional council consent that makes the grant voidable.
Basically, you see what he's saying there. There's so many steps. If you're going to buy land, you need to understand what kind of law regulates that sort of land option. Is the country operating within common law, right? That's just typical British common law sort of situation, or it could be French civil. It could be French law as well, depending on the country you're in. But is it based on common law? Meaning, is it going to go through a simple process where you go through land registry offices, you get your lawyer, you get both signed agreements from both sides, you get the payment transfer, and you have an agreement? That's a normal common law way of buying land. However, as the brothers explained, each type of land coming from different types of people is going to be purchased differently. In some cases, what's going to happen is you're going to have to go and purchase a land through, for example, from the stools, aka tribal land. You have to get the consent of the chief. You have to get the consent of the elders. You have to get the consent of actually probably the people that live in that land, right? The tribe, right? The majority of the tribe people in that land. You have to get the consent of the land commissioner, etc. There's a whole different stuff.
I get it.
Right.
You understand?
I have two types of response. One, that is a convoluted system that I would have thought they would have streamlined it by now. Secondly, I don't know how your application intends to circumvent all the chief's approval and non-approval to sell land in this case. So that is something that you guys have to think about. I would have thought the constitution would have taken care of that, not through.
No, it doesn't. Ghana operates on three laws: British common law, tribal law, and civil law. So Nigeria and Kenya have integrated, and just is British common law, right? There's and civil law. There's no tribal law stuff. That's little bit, that's more of a policy. Oh, by the way, you can do this too. In Ghana, there's actual real chiefs with real power that actually own the land, and you have to go through their specific mechanism for buying it. And one of all these scams that we're seeing, some of them might not be scams in the way that we think is a scam. It's just because they didn't get the right conditions to make that land even valid for sale. So it's convoluted to Nigeria. They need to change this if people are going to invest in the right way.
That's true. They definitely need to, because if that is the kind of weird land this leasing proper procedures, it's convoluted, and you can also argue that it's quite smart of Ghanaians to do that, because it's giving them a bang for their buck for the land, and they are probably afraid of Nigerians coming to buy up all their land. They don't want Nigerians to take over the country or foreigners. So that's why they are putting all these things in place. It's not to target African Americans. I think if African Americans make a case for longer periods of time or smoother processes, they probably can get it in Ghana. I don't think this in Ghana is anti-African Americans. If anything, it's the opposite. It's not.
No, I don't think they are. I think they want their money. They don't want them. They want their money. That's the difference, right? They don't want them. They want their money. So you got to get that right.
Maybe you are right there. Some of them will want them for their money. Some of them will want them for what they represent. African Americans have been going back to Ghana for a long time, and it's not like recently they started going. Nina Simone and a few others from the UK, Maya Angelou, named that they've been in Ghana for a while.
My forefathers, if Ghana had a program like Sierra Leone, first of all, give them nationality, right? When they come in by the tribe, because in Sierra Leone you cannot have. They would not African American. Not all of them can go there and claim Sierra Leone nationality. You have to either be a Mende, Fula, Simini, Limba. These people are the native of the tribe.
Yeah.
Sorry. So you have to be one of the native.
Yeah. Today, can I ask you a question? So do you do you think that this knowing that the government was doing this whole come back home diasporans, do you think that the government was just negligent and incompetent, that they couldn't foresee all the issues with their land laws, and they couldn't even change them to meet the new influx of diasporans? So do you think the government was just, there's two reasons here. Either they knew it and they don't care because they just wanted the quick cash, which I think is the case, or they were too incompetent to realize and put two and two together.
I think they probably knew it and felt like people that are capable of buying properties understand leasehold. That's probably what they thought. And they didn't see, and to be fair to them, maybe they are correct, because there are not that many people that fell through this crack and having difficulties. Most people know about the leasehold. They're not stupid when they want to buy property. You have to admit that now. There are very few people that want to buy property that are not going to be aware of what leasehold means. So from that point of view, that's what they did. And you can argue about it left and right, but I actually think maybe there has to be room for the diaspora that are returning to get for a longer period of time, and that requires convincing them to relax the rules for them, which I believe they can get if they argue for it.
For fathers, did you hear African American or Jamaicans in Gambia having the same problem in a large scale?
See, Ghana is a highly desirable destination for
No, but I'm
many.
asking. No. I'm listening. It's highly desirable now because African Americans have pumped money into the country.
No,
We all
even
know
before
that.
then, it's not
No,
it's not
no.
only through that. See, I've been
No.
to Ghana. I'm telling you, people
Okay,
want to go to Ghana.
I don't know because me when I was young, all I know I see Ghanaians as economic refugees. They never had no food, they never had no education. They came to my country and we gave them everything that they asked for. Only years later for them to repay us by being cruel. And when I look at the way they're behaving towards African Americans, the thing that they're doing to them, and I can actually see the same pattern. So for me,
Hold on.
for
So
me,
you are Sierra Leone. Let me just get this. You are Sierra Leonean and Sierra Leonean, and the Ghanaians came to your country, and you felt like they were not that well off, but they treated Sierra Leonean bad later on. Am I
yeah,
correct?
yes,
Yeah,
after the
they
war,
did the
yeah.
same. They did the same to Nigerians. They did the same to
and,
Nigerians.
and Liberians in a large scale. In fact, when the war was happening in Liberia, that actually really helped them. They actually drove the Liberians from their refugee camp back into Liberia in the war zone, and then it takes the UN to actually start negotiating with them to have the Liberians back in Ghana. People are so
It's
desperate.
really terrible how Ghanaians behave. I think it's the way they behave with their properties and their land.
They are ungrateful. They're not grateful people. When they need help, they'll come and bow in your toe and eat and lick your ass. When they fucking got the upper hand, they'll stick their finger on you. That's how I describe them. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's
there's something
yeah.
about them that is just not good. The other day they
Ah,
damaged this in the Nigerian this in building too. They destroyed the Nigerian building. The Nigerian
right,
consulate about 2-3 years ago they did, and they
right.
started demanding that Nigerian traders in their country pay $2 million, not their city currency, $2 million
Wow.
to be able to trade on the streets, to be able to have a
No.
shop. So that's what they were doing. So Ghanaians, they can be very, very mean spirited to even Africans that are next door to them, not to mention African Americans. So they will tell you that they're just following their own rules, which
Yeah.
in the case of West Africa, they were violating the rules. Then
It's all right. They better keep getting African American money and keep borrowing to the IMF because if that country fucking go bankrupt, they will be waiting for them. We'll be waiting for them at the door because there's so many stuff on social media in my region at the moment about the Ghanaians' behavior. It's unbelievable. And it's all right. Everybody got their own time. Everyone got their own turn. Right now,
yeah,
they're having a bit of African American dollars and some loans and having the U.S. Army based in their country to target, based on war on terror, because they're the one that taking this money. They're taking money from the Americans. They're the only people that be doing it actually, for the sake of war on terror. Yeah.
yeah.
But at the same time, other African countries are saying no, we don't want it. But then you got Nana going around talking about Pan-Africanism. It's like, hang on a minute, hang on.
Yeah,
If you know it,
they have this two face that they do.
yeah, I mean, even if you look at
I
in
don't
the
like
UK
that
here,
too.
yeah, if you look at the UK, they're politicians. The people that came from Sierra Leone as Ghanaians to the UK and become politicians today. If you look at what they're engaging with the right-wing rhetoric, it's unbelievable. You look at them thinking, are you really a black man?
Yeah,
Behaving like this and actually, helping, aiding the white man to actually mistreat your own people, and while you're actually happy with it. It's crazy, bro. I don't see any West African behave like they do, and they're gonna be called out for it. Because in Guinea, people don't like Ghanaians in Guinea. I'm telling you now, they don't want them. If you're Ghanaian, go to Guinea now. They'll be hostile towards you.
you see, I get what you're saying. I have that same gripe against Ghana. I call them two-faced all the time. It's just that the topic in question, we have to be fair.
And they always like to suck up. They always like to suck up to Guinea. And you had what's his name, Max, yesterday came in and talking about Nigeria army is so little. How many military Ghana got compared to their population? Almost next to nothing.
15,000.
Yeah. And at the same time, you got Burkina Faso that have been struggling with the war against jihadis for years. Ghana never fucking went there to help them out. And all you do, yeah, they never. Not one
All
time
they did
Ghana
is
went.
ask Americans to come and save them.
Yeah,
Useless. Those leaders are
useless,
useless from that place.
useless leaders, bro.
Big sellers. Many African countries are sellers. Look at Benin Republic, allowing French troops to mass up in their country, potentially to attack Niger. This is kind of
But
stuff
you
our
see,
leaders do.
Benin is a small country for Canada. You know, that's small countries like that don't have a lot of power. You know, so that's the problem. But the thing is, bigger country like Ghana and Nigeria, they have the power to refuse. But the reality is, like what he was saying yesterday, how Nigeria, the moderate in Nigeria is beyond comparison to America. Look at the figures of America. How many people are getting killed every day by guns, by crime? Compare that to Nigeria, that's a developing country. America came way ahead of Nigeria. And Nigeria got problem with Boko Haram. Yeah,
Yeah.
put the banditry aside. So people are so ridiculous, bro. It's like, how can it, I try to be respectful to people that are older than me because it's part of my culture. But sometimes we need to fucking correct our elders. They need to sort themselves.
Yeah, they seriously need to. Even the Nigerian president today, when he was giving his speech at the UN, I think yesterday actually, he was saying something about the problems in Africa, whether it was designed or not. He says all these things, but his focus is not trying to fix the problems. His focus is
The
always
current,
yeah, the
the
Nigerian
current,
president, the French one. Yeah. He's
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
your current president, he's new in the job. He got a lot to learn, over the years, yeah. So I think we should give him like a couple of years, 2.5 years,
couple of
see what.
years, by that time is over. By that time is over. You have to see. He
No,
has
wait,
policies that he should have done.
honestly, Nigeria is too big, for that. For a couple of years, he need to be given time for all his legislation and all his, his program to settle.
Now
Then we
who is
can.
being easy on the leaders? I will be easy on them if it is demonstrable that that is what
Yeah.
they need.
If he do what he
You can't
done
be
in
easy on
Lagos,
leaders, yeah.
yeah,
What he did in Lagos is not exceptional. You see, you can't be easy on leaders that they can do a lot better. I know for sure if they want to do something right, they can, like power failure, they can end it in 1 year in Nigeria. If they want to
yeah,
secure the country, they can secure the country in 1 year. They refuse to. As a matter of fact, there is evidence that America interfered once when they wanted to destroy Boko Haram the first time. America interfered to stop them from doing it. This is something that is documented by the people that were called off from going after Boko Haram to finish them off. That was years before the leader of Boko Haram was finally killed. So it tells you that these people they create what they call organized chaos. So a chaos that allows them to have leverage against our leaders. They use our own people against us, and these people they know it. But he comes to the UN yesterday and say, "Oh, some of the things they are doing, whether it's by design, you know it's by design."
tonight when Buhari started fighting Boko Haram, right? He went to different countries for weaponry, yeah, including Obama.
Obama,
Said,
that man,
having
the
trouble.
damage that guy did to Africa.
Yeah,
That man
yeah.
was a I can't
Let me
stop
just
hating
finish,
that
yeah.
guy now.
This, it was late. It was late last night, and my kids were asleep, so that's why I actually went quiet. I didn't stay on the stream to actually counter some of the rubbish. Obama refused to sell Buhari the weapons he needs and the military aircraft that he needs, because that's what he needed. He needed the air power to pound these guys on the floor and make sure they disappear on this planet Earth. Obama refused. All the Western countries refused. All the most sophisticated weaponry, the jets that you got in Nigeria today. Do you know who sold it to you guys? Pakistan. Islamic Republic
Yeah.
of Pakistan. Yeah, these are the weapons that you got today. They're the one that are giving you the technology to manufacture some of the weapons, and Russia, some of the weapons that you manufacturing today, not the West. So,
No, the West never did anything. They are just awful set of people.
they
don't do
refused. Our own son Obama refused it. So,
Yeah.
so when people come in here and bashing, they just, they're brainless, man. It's a low IQ people.
Obama, that guy, the damage that guy did to Africa. It's like every single thing he did to Africa was to damage Africa. What is wrong with that guy?
Yes.
I don't get it. Every single thing he did was to damage Africa. He didn't do anything to help the continent in any way. If anything, one could argue that maybe now America is getting a little bit shook, in a way. They're getting a little bit worried that Africa is beginning to move
Yeah,
away from them. That they want
yeah.
to start making moves. But I still think that they don't have it in them. I don't know why they don't have it in them to work with Africa on a level way. In a level.
When Trump came to power, when I remember when Buhari went to the White House to the Trump actually hosted Buhari in the White House for a few days. I never seen an American president do that to an African leader. Buhari was chilling in the White House like it's his residence. Trump is
Uh-huh.
looking at him and genuinely, like he asked him, "What do you want me to do? What do you want? I will give it to you." It's Trump that
No.
sold most of the weapons to Buhari.
Yeah,
And
that
I can
was
see,
what he saw the Buhari was basically a World War II aircraft,
yeah,
Tucano aircraft that we spend years trying to get. This is the nonsense we have to put up with now. While Israel has 300 something F-16s, we have to beg for just a few Tucano aircraft. This is the world we live in. These are our leaders. This is my problem with our leaders.
yeah,
This is why I don't like our leaders. This is why I feel like our leaders don't have ambition. They don't have guts to do what they need to do for their own
yeah,
people.
yeah.
They're cowards. How can
They're
you go there
cowards.
and beg for Tucano? Why would I beg for Tucano?
To Niger, let me tell you the problem.
No.
Some of our diaspora brothers who are in a top sensitive position, they always do this thing. They always try to do their best to prove to their master that yes,
Where
I am not
they can do
compromised.
that.
I'm loyal. Hold on, I am loyal to
No,
this country. They will do everything to sabotage their forefathers' country. They don't just
yes,
like this guy that came to Nigeria recently. Is it Deputy Secretary of Treasury? Is it Wale, whatever they call him? He was in this. Then one guy asked him a question. He said, "Okay, you said Naira is not stable. Can the US, you guys have a lot of money, can the US just loan Nigeria at least $50 billion for so that we put it on our reserve? It will stabilize the Naira." The guy was laughing, but if you look, that question actually makes sense. Can give us a long-term loan for at least 50 billion. Let's use that to at least stable the currency. But no, they will not do it. It's just all talk, 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 no action.
yeah, yeah.
No,
That's
no,
all they good at.
the leaders have just failed us repeatedly. They don't even till today. They don't. If you look at the way they talk, they don't have. The only one that seems to be showing sense of vision is Ramaphosa right now. And even from what I gather, Kenya, they said they have passed LGBT law today. I don't know whether that is true. So even that one, the Ruto that talks tough, maybe
To
it
Niger,
will they don't talk, but they don't act.
to Niger, I always say this: always look at action. Forget speech. Words
Yeah.
are cheap. Look at their action. Ramaphosa is not doing anything different. Believe me, he just talk. What has he done that will say, okay,
Um,
he didn't do
uh,
anything?
he's part of
I'm not
BRICS,
yes,
and he
yes,
got
forget.
the. You are talking
Mhm.
about action. I want to give you action. He got the ability to create vaccine in Africa. He was one of those people that championed it, and he helped support the process for peacekeeping. That's the peace deal in Ethiopia, and so far in his country, he seems to be pushing for the power sector to be switched from the way it was before. But I wouldn't say that is significant. But at least you can see him talking or standing on his own, trying his best to do what he can do for his own country and for his own for the continent too. He's one of those people that are championing that the African Union should be representing Africa in many of these organizations. So, but yeah, I see that criticism. I agree with that criticism that he's not doing that much. Like I said before, if you see leaders that are doing something, it will be so obvious. It will be so obvious, and I'll show you the West is not going to like them because they are going to be moving so rapidly. Within 6 months, you'll be seeing changes in their country. You
Thank
don't
you.
see that. You don't see
Niger,
that in African countries.
you see the way Middle East, Russia, all of them, they are aligning with Iran. You see the process is very rapidly, like they are moving faster. That's the kind of
Exactly. You can
stuff
see
we
the
want to
transition.
see.
What's happening in the Middle East now? The Middle Eastern countries are coming together faster and faster and faster, and their trade amongst themselves is getting faster because the Chinese now are beginning to close the gap. Look at Iran. Iran is so advanced now technologically.
Yes, yes.
Well,
Yes.
more than Nigeria. Nigeria is not under sanction. What is the point then of avoiding sanction when you can be
Because
under sanction and you don't get anything anyway?
the thing is that they look inward as they were sanctioned, decide to look inward to build stuff by themselves. Look at
And
North
that is
Korea
what we
also.
need to do. We
Yeah,
have to
I
open
agree
that
with you.
process. But these are our leaders, they are so scared. They don't want to say anything. They expect to just dance with America and America give you everything you want. Look at all the countries America dominates. They don't they might let you develop, but they don't necessarily give you total freedom of self-defense. And they
So
only
Naija,
yeah.
Biden just released $6 billion to Iran yesterday, and they also do
Yeah,
prison
yeah.
prisoner swap.
Yeah. One prisoner for 1 point something billion dollars.
I'm telling you, Iran is in a good position to
That's what
negotiate. They
happens
have
now.
the
That's what
military grade.
happens now when nobody can mess with you now. Can you imagine Nigeria started striking that kind of deal? I forget it. Nigerians will just shiver and give them back their prisoners and their people. Man, this is the problem. Everything, even prisoners, you have to defend. Everything in this life is based on your ability to defend yourself. Your debt, you have to defend it. The prisoners you arrest or foreigners, you have to defend it. Everything. If Nigeria was the one that had that prisoner of Ghana, do you think they will be able to? America will give them 5 billion, release their 5. No, you give it back to us. They will just transfer the billion. Yeah, yeah. You see the Ghanaian president or Nigerian leader will like, yeah, we have a extradition deal with them. We have to send them back for free.
You are right.
That's what they're going to do. They will just send them back for free. But while the Iranians were able to extract this thing from them, do you know how many times Iran has extracted so much from them? You begin to wonder, what is the point of the sanction anymore? You keep extracting stuff from Americans. See, this thing is a scam. When people say be afraid of, people say be afraid of this thing, this is sanctions. How many countries have been sanctioned that are doing so badly?
To Nigeria, please hold on. Zulia, what is the problem you have with Nigeria? You always come here. Is anything you see about Nigeria, it's always hate, 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 hate. Do you have any personal problem with Nigerians? If you have it, come online here. Let's sort it out. Because you're always on Nigerians' neck. If there's any issue, personal grudges you have with us, call in, then let's settle it here today,
No.
right now.
I think it's probably East African. They are like.
It's crazy. Mostly this Zulia of a guy. It is always negative. I
Yeah,
always
but why bother? Why bother?
comment.
He's saying that whether Iran. See, Nigeria was not in the space of Iran. Iran is in a totally different region in the world. In those days when people used to operate regionally, Nigeria doesn't feature in Iran. We were in West Africa, totally different region from Iran. Our ecosystem was different. So, well, I can assure you, Iranians did try, the Persians, isn't it? They did try to come to Sub-Saharan Africa, and they found out that no, they couldn't. They couldn't. They did try. Any of these groups that try to invade Africa, they always stop them somewhere in Egypt. They don't go beyond that. So I don't know, Zulia. Maybe they could have tried to get to Nigeria, and then you find out, but they didn't make it. As a matter of fact, the Iranians, the Persians, they lost a lot of their men in the desert. They didn't find them today. They disappeared into nothingness. So this is one of the stuff people always like to say, like tease Nigeria and all that, or West Africans, they like to do. But whenever you look deeper and deeper into the matter, you find out that, you know what, it's not as good as you think. Don't stop crowing. The other day we were having this argument about how Muslims like to say that the great empires of Africa was Muslim empires. Until we went and checked and found out that nope, they were not the greatest. And if anything, the longest lasting ones are not Muslim empires. They are the ones that are not Muslim empires. They are the longest lasting ones. And the richest one didn't start off as a Muslim empire, which was the Mali Empire. So it's neither here or there. The ones that are Muslim empires, they failed. They fell very, very quickly compared to historical empires. Nothing even close as it didn't even last as long as the Ghana Empire or the Benin Empire or any of the other empires. Those ones lasted 600, 900 years, some of them 1,000 years. Why the Islamic Empire 300, 100 years? That's it. Gone. So what kind of empire is that? That empire, it came to kill our people. It didn't last.
Zulia, I'm not pain or butt hurt. Okay, last time Israel Adesanya lost it. lost his fight. You came here to discuss it. That is I don't understand.
Why are you debating him? See, all these people, when if he comes here now, he's gonna
He's
find
a
out the
pure
truth.
hater.
I gave him the only encounter that the Persians tried to encounter West Africa. They disappeared. Go and check your history. They disappeared. They didn't make it. If Persians cannot make it, from what I recall, the Romans were kicking asses in the Middle East like crazy. Even the Romans couldn't make it past Kush Kingdom. So if they were so tough, why are they not making it past Kush Kingdom to West Africa? So that you can tell us whether they kicked a Nigerian ass then. So all this type of stuff that people talk
See,
about, they
Naija,
just say
I
stuff
always say
without
this:
knowing history.
our aggressive nature is what has kept us alive because we are a little bit aggressive. So that's what has kept us alive. If not, they would have turned us to some of these
Don't mind them.
East African and
A
this.
woman is the one that turned them back in against the Roman Empire couldn't even make it past a woman, a female queen of this thing, and she even lost one eye in a battle, and they still couldn't make it past her. They granted her everything she wanted. Everything she wanted. This is Egypt. Romans that conquered Egypt. They couldn't conquer Kush. They couldn't. And when people say, "Oh, because they wrote history," they will not tell you that the black people kicked their backsides and they couldn't make it past. All these empires that are here, Persian Empire, Byzantine, this in Ottoman, they didn't make it past. They all stuck there until the Islamic one. That is the Islamic one that penetrated into sub-Saharan Africa, and even they didn't really last as an empire. They didn't last. They came with 300 years with Mali, 100 years with the Songa Empire, evaporated. So that is, and maybe that's something that should tell us something that if you look at the these African empires, they lasted way longer. So it tells you that if you want to build something, build it based on who you are. Don't base it based on religion or culture that you don't control. Because the Europeans, when they built their own empire, they built it based on whom they are. They took the Christianity and made it their own. They took. I'm sure if Europeans took Islam now, they would take it and make it their own. They would not go do Islam and start facing Mecca. They would do it as continue facing their own. They will put it somewhere in Rome or put it somewhere in this. They don't care what rules they have to break to do that. That's Europeans for you, and that's what the people should do. I've said it before. If you Africans want to practice Islam, Africanize it, make it your own. Because there's no way you can prosper more than the people that you worship. How do you do that? If you worship them, how can you prosper beyond them? It's impossible. And I'm not even sure I've seen that happen in history before, where you worship a set of people and you prosper beyond them. Even the Pakistanis are having a lot of issues now because the religion they practice is not necessarily theirs, and they're having a lot of conflict because of it. But look at the Indians. Indians are having their issues, but they are prospering well beyond this in Pakistan. And Pakistan should be faster at prospering, but look at them, they are still struggling. And most of their struggles is even tied to religion. That's the saddest part of it. It's tied to religion, not necessarily tied to their race or tribe or stuff like that. It's mostly tied to their religion because I think they have different sects they are fighting over. And all this type of stuff, I don't know, man. Zulia, take it easy with Nigerians because the deeper you look into it, you will not like what you find. I tell you this, you will not like what you find. Because all the narrative that we have settled for is the one that favors other parts of the world. But if you look deeper into it, you find that it actually favors us. But most of our people don't tell our story. They don't. It wasn't how they what was that? There was a time I think Mo was on this channel. He was talking about how the empires in the this in East Africa was bigger. The empires were bigger. Then until we went and looked into details to find out that the empires in West Africa were actually bigger. So all these things you can't you can't always know too much from just talking too much because West Africans, they don't say too much. They really don't. Some of the oldest artifacts in Africa is found in West Africa. There, some of the first mummies that were found in West Africa, not East Africa. Mummies were not found in East Africa. They were found in West Africa. So It's just one of those things. Mounds, all those things. In West Africa is where they are. And some people, some Europeans are actually believing that West Africa is where, um, uh, this is somewhere in the west of Africa is where the so-called mythical city of Atlantis was located. So somebody, one guy, I don't think his name is Bright Insight. He strongly believes that that's the location because the description of Atlantis fitted almost like 80 to 90% of the criteria of that region, to the down to the rocks and what they spot and what they had there. So I don't know, man. Kicking at West Africans don't wouldn't get you anywhere. It's almost like the more you kick, then the more you find out that there's gold underneath what you're kicking. Just like the gold that they found in the in Ghana recently. I don't know whether that is true. Actually, is that a fact? Because I sometimes all these things sometimes they can be scams. You know that they found that big boulder of gold in Ghana. I was just watching it and thinking that is incredible if that is real. But we don't know. There are nobody showing them on with press conference showing the gold off. So yeah, these are things one has to take it with a pinch of salt. I don't see no press conference with that gold. That would have been interesting to see. Does anyone know whether that is a fact? The gold that was this video going around that they found a big chunk of gold in Ghana. Is that real or just made up?
I don't know. I've not seen it before.
Have you seen the video?
No, no, no. I've not.
Uh-uh. I'm surprised you have not. The video is like they are rolling massive gold like a rock. Like it's really big. Oh. I'm not talking about really small stone, like a big boulder of
If you
gold.
have the video, you can play it here and let everyone see
Yeah,
it.
I don't have access to this back end at this moment, so I can't necessarily do that. But
Okay.
they have it, and it's really really odd to see the video that way. And let me see what was the size. It's like uh, the size of two generators, really, put together. Rolling on the ground and like a big rock. I was thinking if that was gold, would it not be heavier than that? Yeah, it took about four of them also rolling it. But they were not carrying it; they were just rolling it because it was somewhat too heavy. So the fact that they didn't have a press conference about it, for me, I find that a little bit dodgy. If that was real, you would be seeing press conference. But I think
I
from looking at
I
it,
think
it's what almost
I
a
think
million.
it is fake news.
It has to be. It has to be. Yeah, it has to be. But the video looks real. Is Kezo there?
Jesu.
Yeah, no, he's gone into hiding.
Yeah,
He's
I
gone
think he went out to take that breakfast or lunch.
yeah, I'm just trying to see when I can get a hold of this stuff. These people, because what tends to happen is that they swap these what they call it. I think Tunakechi this thing showed the video now. Yeah, he had a video. The guys were laughing and okay, there are about one, two, three, four, five, six people rolling the boulder. They were not carrying it to rolling it. Okay, it might be that heavy. They were rolling it, they were not carrying it. So that's a bit interesting. Hmm. Let me leave it at that for now. Let me just
Zulia, stop assuming. Okay, don't describe me based on your assumption. Okay, you know nothing about Nigerians. You have not been there. You have not visited the country once. You think you know everything about us. If your country is so better, let's talk about Somalia. Abi, you are from Ethiopia. I don't know where you are from. Let's talk about it. Let's see the impact your country have made in their African society. Let's see. I bet none come here to bash Nigeria every day. You guys contribute nothing to Africa. Nothing. It's poverty and misery. Tunaja, are you looking for the video? Are you searching for the video? Oh, is there anyone there? You guys just, what's going on? Why is everyone quiet? Hello.
Quiet.
Yes.
It's just about to kick off. Greetings, panel.
Oh,
Greetings, fellow statesmen.
good
Yeah,
morning.
Pleased to be here
Hi, Siri.
at this conference.
UFC, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, IC3. Wagwan.
Yes, so I see this place as a
Wagwan family. Everything blessed.
well, go on.
Me there, you know, me there, fam. Me there still, you know. Me there still
Yeah,
for the Gideon.
yeah. What do you think of this idea? Actually, I just sent this out. So I sent one to this information to Kaizo. So I'm waiting for his response. But the idea is to set up a new game, right? It's a concept of a game, all right? So nothing to be worried about. It's just a game, So it's a game, an international game that treats all the popular panelists, like the people on this panel, right? These are all thought leaders, like Tunisia, AL, you know, UFC, you know, you all have a particular view, and the fact that you come on panels like this and discuss and challenge views and have your views challenged, I'm going to say, for this game, you should be seen as a state, and that you are, for this game, you are a representative of a state. So there's the Tunisia. Tunisia is the president or king or whatever emperor of the Tunisia sovereign entity. So so the design of this game would, and then all would happen is that everything that Tunisia says would, or his points on politics, religion, and culture, his views or policies, we call them policies. So the Tunisia policies on religion, finance, and culture would be would be recorded, so that people could go into this game and they could select Tunisia and they could know what his policies are and how, and then also vote on and support those policies. And basically all this information would be come together, and then it would come into his ratings. So the Tunisia ratings on a particular policy, and then other people from other forums, they could say, well, I've heard about Tunisia. He visits this one. He also has his own channel, and I hear him on this American channel, and so on. And then everybody could zoom in and support Tunisia's view. And basically, parties or coalitions will form internationally. So you have the Kaizorian channel. You have in Africa, you have, well, still international. And then you have Sarnetta, is a very another popular channel. So you have all these characters with all these different ideas, and it would be nice to be able to zoom in and say, what does this person actually believe, and would I support it? What does Al actually believe? What is his position? I could just zoom in there and find the background, his identity, background, and his belief system. So when names pop up, wherever they pop up internationally, you could zoom in and get that person's ideological background in a nice, neat package. And it'll be a good game to see how what people seem to be sharing the same ideas or who have the same states of mind and so on. Does that make sense?
Rasta, that's a very British way to solve a problem. You know that?
No. It's a game. You see, it's a game.
No, I know. I'm just saying. You know, remember when you go into to the office and you starting a new job when they're doing the recruitment. You know, this kind of games are very familiar to me.
Right. That's right.
My first insurance. Working for the insurance, one of the biggest insurance companies here. When I was young, my first thing was like to go through these games and stuff like that. That's why I'm saying it's kind of very British way to solve it, but it's quite interesting.
Oh, right. Well, tell me about these games. Tell me, because that's the insurance business. I don't know about the insurance business, and it'll be interesting to know.
It's a different angle to Pan-Africanism. So, but it's I know what you mean. It's like trying to get everyone bring their own idea to the table and see which one is more popular, right?
Yeah, but on an international scale, on specific topics, So I hear Tunija talking, but I should be able to say, right, this is Tunija's opinion on finance, how to for Black betterment for Black Africa and the Black African diaspora. I should be able to say what Tunija's views are. There should be somewhere I could be able to read and say, oh yeah, Tunija says this and he believes this, and it will be accurate because it's there. I could be able to say, well, Tunija and Al both agree on this, because I'll be able to talk precisely because I know where you stand. Why? Because it's somewhere, it's documented somewhere. And I could be somewhere and somebody could say, do you know anybody who shares these views on religion? And I could say, well, there'll be Tunija, Al, UFC. I could list, and they say, well, how can you list that? How do you know? Because there's a space. It's just a game, but there's a space where you can look up all the different characters that come about on these international Black African panels, forums, discussion groups worldwide. And you can get to know what people think. So obviously there's still talking going on and debates and going on, but a newcomer would immediately know what Tunija stands for in a few seconds. So you can be listening to Tunija talking on a panel, having a discussion with somebody else, and then you can say, well, who is this Tunija? And then there'll be another place where you could click Tunija and then see his policies, as it were. His policies. Does that make sense? I think it would just, it's the equivalent of mining the dust, mining the iron ore, mining the gold ore, mining extracting crude oil. And I think my
policy towards mineral resources, I will jump into that. My policy to mineral raw material will be to ban on export of the entire continent, to ban export on raw material.
Okay.
The only thing that we should export is food. That will be the only thing that we export out of the continent will be food, and that will be surplus food. But anything else, in terms of our mineral resources or our mineral resources, that should be banned on it. And if anyone exporting it illegally should be put into prison for life, or at least 50 years in prison.
Right. So you see that. So
it should be a policy. Extract to manufacture. Okay, write this down. Extract to manufacture, not extract to export.
Extract to manufacture, but not extract to manufacture. Right. You see?
Not export.
Yes. So Yeah, so that's nice. You see, it's nice and clear, right? What is our
Yeah.
policy on raw materials, right? So that should be written down somewhere, or should go into some database, right? And then also, how many people around the world would agree with our policy? It's nice and clear. It's nice and simple, right? And then people could tick to say, yes, I agree, yes, 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 yes. And so in that database you could see how many thousands of people around the world on engaging in forums agree with that particular policy. And you understand, so all these things, and then that
Yep.
way you, then it could be, there could be a ratings, you see, because you were the first person. Al was the first person to mention that as a policy,
That should be
right?
named. That should be
He,
named after me. The policy should be named after me. That will be the alpha.
exactly. That's right. That's
The
right. So
alpha
you get a
legacy.
rating. That's right. So you get an international rating because
Yeah,
you're the
yeah, that will be
first.
the. Yeah,
That's
that will be
that's,
the
that's the
alpha.
game. That's the game. You see,
The
that's
alpha
the game, because everybody
legislation.
wants. Yeah, we all enjoy to be, to be somebody, even if it's just a game, and it's been nice to play, to see who can come up with the best and most popular policies as part of the game. And because you were the first one to come out with that, and then everybody starts voting in or supporting you on that, then you should our presidency should rise within that sector. Does it make sense? So everybody
Yeah,
can see, and it's good. It's fun. It's fun, and there's no guarantee that your position is fixed, because it's a game. So somebody could come up with a better uh, policy on raw
proposal.
materials.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, a better proposal, and then that proposal would beat your proposal, but your proposal was the leading one internationally, maybe for the last month. But somebody came up with a slightly better wording proposal, and it beat yours, and so they gained popularity. It would be wonderful to watch that, and that could run separately or parallel with all the channels. So all the channels are going on just as they were. But I'll be able to go, oh, why don't you just check Al? Who's this Al? Just click on this and check what Al's policies are. So he's there talking, having a conversation, but who is he? What is his policy? What is his view on religion? What is his view on raw materials? What is his view on politics? So so you don't need to start lots of different channels. You just have this one separate channel that is solely specifically focused on ratings only. There's no explanation. You'll find the explanation as you get to see them having their discussions on the various panels internationally. So what do you think of that, Tunija? Does it make sense? UFC and Kaiser. Any comments? Everybody's busy multitasking. Oh, look what I got. I've got this. This is a symbol of harmony and unity. See?
wicked.
See, so I'm gonna wave this to encourage us all to.
Yeah.
When it gets too dusty. Tuning fork. We're going to tune the Black African diaspora and the Black Africa, so that we can be tuned and resonate resonate with each other for power, international power.
That's it. That's it. But
Can
yeah,
you hear it? I can't
that's my.
hear this. Can you hear it? Did you hear this?
Yeah, no, I did.
When I
I did.
tap.
I did. I did.
Oh right, okay, yeah. So yeah. So
So
that's
you
that.
just keep going, because I'm sure they can hear you. Just keep going.
Okay. Yeah. So let me expound more on that idea. Yeah. So I suppose it would need some
Maybe we should get UFC fan to bring his own next, because he already know the raw material. He should go to the next, because probably we need to move on to finalize the topic.
Yeah. When they
Yeah.
come on, 'cause I think they're busy at the moment, so they
Okay.
can't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
UFC,
they're
are
not.
you there?
He's probably there in the background
Okay.
listening, but he's probably doing something
Yeah. Just
where he
like me,
can't
because
talk.
I'm always hopping in and out. Yeah, go on. I'm
Yeah,
listening, bro.
I know. We all have to do multitasking. Yeah. So because I did some well, what happened? I was doing some I was on teacher training, and then there was holidays, and during the holidays I was walking by and I saw some video games, and I thought, wow, look how technology has really improved. Because that time I think Mortal Kombat had just come out and Street Fighter, these really advanced games, and I was always interested in computers and technology. So watching to see how computers were applied to games and video games, you could clearly see the improvement in the power of CPUs and computers by the way they were manipulating graphics and sound and so on within games. So that's how I got interested in games while studying computers, and I was also studying database design and management, but with the aim of going into teaching. So during the summer holiday, I started playing these games. I thought, wow, it's really interesting. And whilst I was playing these games, you and going regularly to an arcade, then you'd meet other people that like the same game, and then you challenge them on we were doing fighting games, so I'd fight them with different characters, and we watched the development of the game. And then what I did, I had a Zion organizer. I don't know if you knew they're little handheld computers. Yeah, I think they're out of date now. The Zion organizers, it's called. And it had a little. It was a little handheld with a spreadsheet. So what I did, we used to challenge each other, and much like you have here on the panel, where you're challenging each other, and and somebody says, "Oh, that's a good point, and that's a bad point." So the same thing with fighting. So this person beat this person 5 times, and this person beat this, so this person's better than the other person. So we're arguing, for fun. And I thought, let me put the arguments and the debates into a spreadsheet and a database to find out who played who on what game, and how many times this person beat that person, and how many times, so kept a database of all the fights between each. And so there became a rating. So I developed a database with a rating system of the fighting skills of all the different people that wanted to register on the database. So there's only about maybe about 9 of us. Then it went up to about 11 of us, all challenging. So we all had our names, just like you have Tunisia, UFC, and AL. So we put those names in the database, and then manage view the ratings. So then we did calculations. I set up formulas to see ratings, the percentage of skills and defeats and wins and losses and so on. And then that grew to about 30 people. and then more young people, and then more people said, well, we because it was only one game. I think the first game was actually Virtual Fighter, because I was so impressed with 3D fighting game. The graphics is really impressive, 3D. So so he's doing so to keeping all these database information of wins and losses for Virtual Fighter. And then when other people came in who were playing other games, other fighting games, they were saying, "What's that you're doing?" I say, "Oh, we fight each other, challenge each other, and we're on this game." And they said, "Could you keep a record for us? Because we want to challenge, but we played another game. We played Street Fighter." So I said, "Okay." So I built a database for those who played Street Fighter. So I had one for Virtua Fighter, another database for those who played Street Fighter, and then more people came in, and it went up to about 100 people now, because other people came in, but they said, "Could you keep a database of our fights as well on this game?" So then it came, what was that game? What's the game? So Virtual Fighter, Street Fighter, yeah, a lot of these games. So more and more games and more databases came in, but there was a database for each game. And then what happened is that it got so big. They said, "Why?" The databases got so big. I went with the database to the owner of the property, who's running the arcade, and I said, "Look how many games and how many people have joined this database, my database, my gaming database. Is there any way you could give us some prizes or something? Because there's a lot of money coming in now, because it's really expanded. Look at all these people. I didn't know that we were playing all these games. Could you give us some discounts, on the money that we're paying to play, or something, And he says, "Oh, I'll think about it." And then what he did, the owner of the arcade, he invited me to a trade show. It's a trade show. I think it's Earl's Court. And in the trade show, that's where all the games manufacturers from Japan, because that's Sega, because Sega did Virtua Fighter, you see. And then Namco did Tekken, and all these different, Capcom did Street Fighter. Yeah. So at this trade show, you have all the manufacturers. So you have Sega was there, Namco was there, Capcom was there, and then they have all these different games, you see. So I was asking the boss of this arcade to give us, some prize or give us some discount. But what he said, "I've got an idea for you." So what he did, he invited me to a trade show and then introduced me to the manufacturers of the games and said, "Speak to them." So so he was telling them, because obviously he's making money by running the arcade. And then he said to them, look, he told them who I was and what I was doing with these databases, running games on their product in the arcade. So to cut long story short, Capcom gave me a laptop. Yeah, because I've shown them I was doing a database on this little handheld computer. Zion. It's called a Zion Organizer. It's only, and then Capcom gave me a laptop, a whole laptop. They said, "Look, if that's what you're doing, hey, we're going to help you out. Yeah, here's a laptop." It's like, whoa! Back there, there's no way I could afford a laptop. I said, whoa, because they thought it would be good for Capcom. And then Capcom also sent for posters and T-shirts and toys from Japan. And then they were sent, and they were given to me to give to the players, because obviously they want the people, they want the competition to get more popular, and by giving genuine Capcom prizes all the way from Japan, so obviously people started playing more games, and I was giving prizes out and posters, rare collectibles, because these stuff were coming from the manufacturer, from Capcom themselves, who designed Street Fighter and designed lots of other games. And so they were sponsoring the competition. So therefore, the game increased in popularity. And then I went to Sega because I was going to the trade shows now and say, look what Capcom are doing, and this is what we're doing. We're having tournaments and stuff. And then Sega started giving posters and trinkets, and then Namco, and because they all started copying each other because they wanted to try and get control of all these young, because a lot of the people were young gamers, and they wanted so basically the database became became a club, a membership club, because to have your wins and losses registered and who you're fighting and who you're not, then you'd have to have your name, or just or your handle. You don't have to give your real name, but you give your brand, your nickname, and you'd be part of the database. And so it developed into a membership club. It developed into a club, a society. So some people were playing more than one game, and therefore they were rated in more than one game. So they might be top player in one game, and they're not so top ratings in another game. And yeah, so that was developing, and eventually it got so big that I didn't go back to university to finish my school teaching. I got offered a job as promotions manager for a West End company called Family Leisure, who dealt in, because what they basically said, look, we've seen your database and all these people who are members of your gamers club. Why don't you come be promotion manager for us, and you can do pool, because we understand what you're doing. All these, because you want all those players to come into our facilities, our leisure facilities, and play the games where we want them to play the games, so we can get their money. So they run video games, they run pool. What else? Yeah. So, but they wanted me to do competitions on pool, video games, and some all the games they did in Family Leisure. But they also they did the slot machines, gambling machines. So the money was so good, I said, okay, look, I might as well take this job, and maybe I'll go back to being a school teacher or training, finish my teacher training afterwards. But I've got to take this opportunity. Yeah. So why did I say all of that? So I'm saying all of that because I feel in some way that model, that format, can be applied to forums like this, like Kaiser's forum. Because when I listen to Niger speaking against his views against other people's views, and then Kaiser speaking about his views, it's almost like it's the game of having the best ideas for Black African betterment. Who has, so you're all gaming, challenging each other on who has the most consistent ideas, who has the ideas that make the most sense, who has the ideas that are practical, who understands history and has history behind their ideas. So it's all a big game. So all this dust is the same thing as what took place in the arcade. Everybody was going there and just playing and then walking away. But nobody was keeping records of who played who, when, and how they performed. Because nobody's taking it that seriously. It's just a game. It's just a video game. Just going to play. A lot of people came in their lunch break. Yeah. So some of the older people, they would come and play games in their lunch break and then go back to work. some of the young people, they would play after school. So you'd have young people playing against older people, unemployed playing against the employed, rich people playing against poor people, just because they were impressed. They all shared their shared value was in technology and gaming. So they met, all these different characters, all these different people met together around the gaming machine. That was the only reason they met. You know, they had to talk to each other. Apart from that, they would have no reason to talk to each other, no reason to meet. So I'm saying that this is similar to the Kaisorian channel, where we're all scattered all around the world, and we're all doing different things. A lot of us, some of us are running business, some of us are working for other people. We're all scattered all over the place, but we meet here on the Kaisorian channel because we have a common interest in a particular theme, or the themes that Kaizo puts up to talk about. But he's fundamentally set the channel up to improve relations, and for Black African betterment. That's the purpose of the channel. So by providing a space where people can share ideas on Black African betterment, he's improving the situation. But I'm saying there's a way. I believe there's a way to move it up a level. So just like people still, not everybody who came to the arcade to play a game wanted to have the game registered as a challenge. Sometimes they just wanted to come in, play a game, and then go. But they knew that the database was there. So sometimes they say, "Yeah, I want to challenge this one. I want to challenge him. I challenge you." Yeah, I feel like challenging somebody today. Yeah, so I want this game recorded. I want this game on record, because this one has got too much mouth. And what's his ratings? Yeah, they'd ask me, what's his ratings? And say, well, according to the database, yeah, he's he's third best on this game. And then they would say, well, I'm new, I've just arrived, and I reckon I can beat him, and I'd like this challenge recorded, put it on the database, register. So he'd register in, and then that would go on the database. So there was so there's games that were on record and games that were off record. So I'm trying to say how that can be applied is that people come and they enjoy having discussions. They enjoy the dust, and sometimes they talk with some serious ideas. Sometimes they just want to banter and crack some jokes. It's okay. But wouldn't it be nice if they say, right, okay, this session is going to be registered. This is a registered session, and so we're discussing these particular policies, and then there's going to be, this is going to go into the database. Yes, so we'll know your position, your policy is going to be registered, in contrast to the unregistered discussions. And when we say registered, we're not going to be able to, what's the word? What's it, script where everything somebody says is written down word for word. Oh, what's that word? Facsimile. Yeah, facsimile. Where basically your this is the way to look at it. Just like in the British Parliament, they have Hansard. Have you heard of Hansard? That's HANSARD. Hansard. So Hansard is the book where it keeps a record of what everybody has said in Parliament over the years. So when you stand up to speak in the House of Commons or the House of Lords, it's recorded in Hansard. So obviously, look this up. Hansard. Yeah, so here it is. Yeah. So Hansard. Hansard is the traditional name of the transcripts of parliamentary debates in Britain and many Commonwealth countries. It is named after Thomas Curzon Hansard, 1776 to 1833. A London printer and publisher who was the first official printer to the Parliament at Westminster. Origins. Though the history of the Hansard began in the British Parliament, each of Britain's colonies developed a separate and distinctive history. Before 1771, the British Parliament had long been a highly secretive body. The official record of the actions of the House was publicly available, but there was no record of the debates. See? So this is how Parliament was. So I'm saying it's the same thing. We could use the same model for Kaiser's channel. There was no record. There was no record of debates. The publication of remarks made in the House became a breach of parliamentary privilege, punishable by the two houses of Parliament. As the populace became interested in parliamentary debates, more independent newspapers began publishing unofficial accounts of them. The many penalties implemented by the government included fines, dismissal, imprisonment, and investigations, are reflective of the difficulties faced by independent newspapermen who took an interest in the development of Upper Canada and who in varying degrees attempted to educate the populace to the shortcomings of their rulers. Sorry, that's a quote. Yeah, that's a quote. So basically, challenge me if you think I'm wrong on this. So basically, that Parliament, there were lots of debates going on in there, but there was no record of the debates. And if you were to publish the debates publicly, it would be punished. But as the population, the general population, became interested in the debates, independent newspapers began publishing unofficial accounts of the debates. So these unofficial accounts are like, relating it to the Kaiserian channel, is like when somebody says, well, so-and-so said this last time, and then somebody says, no, I didn't say that. Don't misquote me. Stop misinterpreting what I said. You see? So it's the same thing as publishing, as the newspapers publishing the debates that were taking place in Parliament, and they were seen as unofficial. You see? So then there's debate that this publication is a misrepresentation of what I said, and it's the exact same thing you'll get on the Kazarian channel discussions and debates going on there. You said I said this. I didn't say that. You misquoted me. Don't twist what I'm saying. It's the exact same model as Parliament. Yeah. So it says, what does it say here? So several editors use a device of veiling parliamentary debates as debates of fictitious societies or bodies. Yeah. Look at these. See? So the editors who found out what was going on in Parliament and in the debates, they then started to publish those debates as fictitious. Yeah. Making it fiction, but it's fiction based on reality. So because you're not allowed to publish what was really said, you then publish it as fiction. Then people start to read the fiction. It says here, debates of fictitious societies or bodies. The names under which parliamentary debates were published include proceedings of the lower room of the Robin Hood Society and debates of the Senate of Magna Lipoducia. So these were fictional, but they were real debates, but they published them as fiction. And then they published them in a magazine, which is first published in 1732. And the names of the speakers were carefully filleted. For example, Sir Robin Walpole was thinly disguised as Sir R.T. W or something like that. Yeah, and I think this is what's taking place right now, as on the Kazarian channel, is that nobody's really using their real name. Yeah, so therefore that's the equivalent. If you come on the channel to discuss and debate without using your real name, it's the equivalent of fictionalizing your views and not taking them seriously. Yeah, so it's the exact same model. I think that the serious discussions taking place within the Parliament were published as fictional debates by fictional characters. Okay, so it says in 1771, Brass Crosby, who was the Lord Mayor of the City of London, had brought before him a printer by the name of John Miller, who dared publish reports of parliamentary proceedings. He released the man, but was subsequently ordered to appear before the House to explain his actions. Crosby was committed to the Tower of London, but when he was brought to trial, several judges refused to hear the case, and after protests from the public, Crosby was released. Parliament ceased to punish the publishing of its debates as harshly, partly due to the campaigns of John Wilkes on behalf of free speech. There then began several attempts to publish reports of debates. Among the early successes, the Parliamentary Register, published by John Almond and John Debrett, began in 1775 and ran until 1813. So just think, in 1771, a man named Brass Crosby was brought before the Lord Mayor of the City of London. Yeah. Sorry. In 1771, Brass Crosby, who was, oh, sorry, I got it wrong. In 1771, Brass Crosby, who was the Lord Mayor of the City of London. So the Lord Mayor of the City of London was Brass Crosby. And he had brought before him a printer by the name of John Miller, who dared to publish reports of parliamentary proceedings. So you got locked up for publishing parliamentary proceedings. Committed to the Tower of London. That's how serious. And I can see why the people get so passionate about the debates. They get so passionate. But the origin of it, that when you're discussing serious matters, back in the day, you could be arrested. You were arrested and put in the Tower of London. But the whole situation changed when Crosby was committed to the Tower of London. But when he was brought to trial, several judges refused to hear the case. And after protests from the public, Crosby was released. So basically, yeah, so basically, it's the only way. It's going to be resistance. But the way to, there must be a way in which we can publish the debates in a way that the public can understand in a nice, concise way. And I think the best way to make it concise for the public, for those who are interested in the affairs of Black Africa, and the Black African diaspora, those who are interested in new ideas and concepts, the best way would be to have those concepts simplified, have the opinions of all the speakers and the debaters simplified. Into a game where you can see the ratings. Has this stream ended? I don't know. I think he may have ended. I don't know. Let me type in the chat. A radical normie. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Radical normie. I can see you in the chat. I don't know if he's ended the stream.